For months on end, lakhs of students have faced uncertainty of the Class 12 board exams about whether or not the exams will be happening. Last time around, it was cancelled about 15 days before the exams were scheduled to take place in the wake of the second wave of corona. But that uncertainty could be ending soon. A top-level meeting of not just ministers but also bureaucrats as well as state governments could take place tomorrow, which would be very, very crucial in looking at what form the exams could take place. So what's on the table includes shortened examinations, multiple choice questions, as well as safeguards such as extra set of examinations to be conducted in case students are not able to take the first set due to COVID-19. Let's take this across to Nikunj Garg, Internal Security Editor, who broke the story earlier today. Nikunj, very, very significant. A lot that's on the table as far as the government and state governments particularly are concerned. Take us through what exactly is the proposal.
Well, Madhav, proposals are actually divided in two broad categories by the government of India. But we must understand that these are the proposals from the side of the Higher Education Department, Ministry of Education, Government of India. States may or may not agree with them. If the bulk of the states do not concur with them, and remember the chairpersons of all the state education boards other than the CBSE and ICSE have also been invited in this meeting that the Union Defence Minister tomorrow will chair alongside a special group of ministers constituted only for this purpose. If the bulk of the stakeholders, as I said, do not concur with these proposals, then these proposals will have to be reworked afresh. As of now, what they entail is two set of broad proposals in which one set expands the horizon of the board exams to a period of nearly 90 days, another curtails it to 45 days. One has the options of shortening the exam duration as well from 180 minutes to 90 minutes. Another has the proposal of taking only objective type multiple choice questions and on the redacted or reduced rationalized subject quantum that has been agreed upon for the year 2021-2020 curriculum. And so on and so forth. So in the sense of examination centers also, there is a proposal that exams should be taken only in the schools from which the children have been studying in. So for example, if a child is studying in the Springdale School, Dholakua, he will sit for his board exams in the same school. The other says that the number of centers must be raised dramatically so that there is no overcrowding on in the centers and enough safe distancing can be maintained. Importantly enough, the government has for the first time also acknowledged that there is a lot of uncertainty which is creating a great amount of unease in the student, teacher and their parent community. So quite clearly, feeling the distress and the anguish, government for the first time in an unprecedented and an historic manner devised a strategy to consult all the stakeholders across the country, and this time this criticism against the central government also cannot be there that not enough discussions were done. However, today's meeting was originally supposed to happen today at 11:30 a.m. Had to be rescheduled because certain stakeholders said that they were not prepared to take part in a notice of under 24 hours that was given initially by the central government. There is also another crucial aspect, Madhav, that this is not limited to only the board exams or class 12 exams across the country. This meeting also will decide the fate of all the higher education institutions exams that are conducted now by the National Testing Agency in the country and other such exams which have been pushed back due to the second surge in the coronavirus pandemic that this country has seen. Now, whether to have exams at all or not is also part of the agenda. And if bulk of the stakeholders insist that there cannot be any exams during this period, remember, children, adolescent, teenage children are the largest group now in this country probably, which has still remained completely unvaccinated, completely unprotected in the medical terms. So if the bulk of the stakeholders insist that there cannot be any examinations under such set of circumstances, obviously an alternative measure or alternative mechanism to assess the children will have to also be devised.
Thanks so much, Nikunj, for joining us with that very comprehensive update of what we can expect from tomorrow's meeting. Let me now open this up and take it across to our guests who are joining us. Dr. Anis Ansari of Empire Global Advisory and a retired IAS officer and educationist is with us. Also with us is Professor Simrit Kaur, Principal of SRCC. Dr. Rajesh Hasija is Director and Principal of the Indraprastha Group of Schools. But I first and foremost want to go across to the two students who are with us on the panel, because all eyes are really on the students. And let's get a sense from them as to what their thought process is, what their contemporaries are telling them. Resham Palwar is a class 10 student with us, as is Khyati Ahuja. I want to go across to Resham Palwar first. Resham, I'm told that you are amongst those students who's also hoping to go abroad. How has all of this uncertainty affected your plans of studying abroad?
I must admit that this, entire uncertainty which is surrounding this has not been very good for all the students who are planning to go abroad, because for all of us, usually the exam season gets over by March, and then we're able to continue with all our plans of sending the transcripts to our respective colleges and making sure that our acceptances are in place. However, because the board exams have not yet been conducted, and because we do not see any hope for the exams being conducted in the near future because of the country's current plight, it is becoming very difficult for us, because the universities are often not allowing us to register for classes, and they're not allowing us to, make sure that our seat is secured yet. So for all the students who have applied this year abroad, it is a time of great peril, and despite us working for, so hard for the last 4 years, we are still so uncertain about what will happen, even after having our acceptances in hand.
Right. Let me take this across, in fact, to one of our other panelists with us. Dr. Aziz Ansari, retired IAS officer, is also with us. Dr. Ansari, what really, the government, of course, will hold this meeting tomorrow. The various proposals that are there, in fact, that have been proposed, even holding it in the centers itself, the schools itself, is amongst the proposals. Do you think that with these proposals, it will be practical to hold the CBSE Class 12 board exams, or should we be reverting to the Class 10 formula even for Class 12?
I guess that as the Parents Association at the national level has already demanded, many student organizations have demanded that the examination system should be postponed and the students may be promoted on the basis of their past performance. I guess that the government is likely to listen to this advice. There are various options which are open to the government. One, of course, is that they can hold the examination, but for that they have to take the precautions. They have to set up many more centers for examination, and ensure that the precautions which are necessary for COVID, for distancing, mask and sanitization, etc., they are followed. But this is open to risk, because the young crowd which is likely to take the examination at Class 12, they are very susceptible to the third wave of COVID. Therefore, the government possibly may avoid to take that kind of risk. It may result in lots of casualty. The government may move away from this proposal. Second option is that the government...
Okay.
The second option is...
Yeah, let me just get in a quick response on that, because this is very important what you're saying, and I want to get in fact, Khyati on that note. Khyati Ahuja is also a Class 12 student. Khyati, what are your contemporaries telling you? This news of the possibility of now holding the exams is now there very much. Of course, it will be a shortened version. What are your friends, classmates, etc. telling you about what they think about this particular proposal?
Personally speaking, I don't really know about the people who agree with this, because this still puts us at risk. Even if they're going for 90 minutes instead of 180 minutes, we're still being exposed to an environment. And no matter how many precautions we take, if so many kids come here to give an exam, they are going to be consequences. And not just for us, but also I think that is a huge worry for our family members, because even if we don't get affected, we can become carriers and we can infect our own families. And right now, there's already so much uncertainty, and already a lot of people have suffered such losses in the family, especially students, and they're living in such uncertainty, we don't really know what's going on. So from my personal experience and from what I know, I think a lot of people are just hoping that they get cancelled. And like I mentioned, that either the past papers are used to evaluate our numbers, or schools themselves take the review exam.
All right, let me take that question across to Professor Simrit Kaur as well. Professor Simrit Kaur, there is of course a lot of fear amongst the students, and I have two questions for you. One, is it in your view as an educationist, do you feel it is practical to hold the examinations now? And B, the Class 12 board is predominantly for, ensuring that when the students go for higher education, there is some sort of standard that is set, which they can be evaluated upon, judged upon. Do you think that colleges also will now be looking at some other measures, or is it possible at all for our institutes of higher learning to evolve some other mechanism of selection of candidates rather than depending only on the board examinations?
I think you very rightly put up, and it's important for all policymakers and even for tomorrow's meeting, it's important to understand what is the relevance of an examination system. And in this context, permit me to speak on four fronts as to why examination, what is the relevance of examination, when to hold, and how best is the mechanism. Coming to the first as to why are exams to be conducted, we must understand, is it for an exit of the student? Is he just trying to exit, or is it for further progression? Anybody who wants to progress further into the career and is looking for higher education, obviously it's very important that the child is evaluated. But foremost, the evaluation has to be under standardized norms. And we do understand that under the present circumstances, we are working in a non-optimal, non-standardized kind of a mechanism. The second, sir, would be when we talk about what is the relevance of an examination system. It's basically, as you already mentioned on your own, it's providing a signaling mechanisms to the institutes of higher education as to which is the right candidate whom you should be picking up. Now, the question is, when should the examinations be conducted? And I have heard about some of the TV reports that there are deliberations which are going to take place tomorrow as to conducting 90-minute exams spread over 2 phases. I think this is a good solution because any student who is presently in a very turbulent phase of mind, either because the child himself is suffering from COVID or somebody else in the family is suffering from COVID, or there could have been an untoward incident also due to the corona disease, giving them 2 chances is something which is going to very favorably impact the psychology of the students. Finally, sir, you did mention about what is the mechanisms. Yes, there are largely 4. We go for the traditional mechanism. We go for the alternate mechanism of open book, where 2 options are being proposed, the erstwhile 3-hour system or the 90-minute. One thing is clear, I would prefer that, multiple choices are not there. This is something which I would personally prefer, because changing the rules of the game midway and totally reorienting them from a subjective way to an objective way may not be best in the eyes of the students. And also what I would like to say, sir, we are talking about an alternative book examination where an assignment-based exam is given, and another would be no exam. So when there is no exam, I think the kind of outputs which the student is going to get in terms of marks will not assist the colleges like University of Delhi to pick up the right child. And very rightly, sir, we would also be putting an appeal to the University of Delhi to frame alternative mechanisms, such as giving us, let's say, 20% weightage for personal evaluation of the child.
All right. Those are, I think, some very fair points that you have made over there. Dr. Rajesh Hasija is also with us, Director and Principal of the Indraprastha Group of Schools. Dr. Hasija, do you think that the suggestions that have just been made by Professor Simrit Kaur are practical, and also the safeguards that the government has already mentioned, do you think that that will be adequate in terms of protecting school children if they are to be held, for instance, in their own schools, which is not normally the case, as we all know, during the Class 12 board?
Thank you very much. Yes, I agree with Professor Simrit Kaur, but let me elaborate in 2 ways. Number 1, the emotional issue. Second is the administrative issue. Emotional issue, 14 months these children are locked inside the 4 walls of the house. Limited syllabi, 30% cut down. Only 70% online teaching and teaching, no other alternative. I tell you, this is mentally, they have suffered like anything. Then there is a fear of corona. If you conduct an exam, probably somebody is asymptomatic carrying the corona. So on one hand, emotionally, I say exam should not. But is there an alternative to exam? We have to have exam. There is no other possibility. What for exam? We categorize exam into three parts. gifted, average, and underachievers. For gifted children, NEET, JEE, even Delhi University is conducting the entrance exam. These children go there. Question comes average and below average children. If we can handle them, then certainly we can work out something. But my another thought is, if you have to conduct exam as situation is now improving a lot, exams should be region wise. It is not necessary you conduct the whole exam, whole India, one exam. Let's fix up Delhi is better, you conduct an exam in Delhi. If Goa is better, let's conduct in Goa. Second exam should be in the same school, because parents, children have faith in their teacher. They connect emotionally very well. And I fully agree with Professor Simran. Change of conduct of exam at this stage should not be there at all. If it is a subjective exam, we must carry on exactly the same subjective exam. I feel there is one more option which we can do.
All right.
Let's, I just said the last word. Can we have it one day a week exam? Suppose I decide there are 5 subjects. I decide 5 Mondays as the exam days. And I start from, say, 20th of June. Whatever day Monday comes. Say. So Monday is the English or parallel Hindi or any other language. If a child is unwell, he cannot come on Monday. Let him come on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever day is there. Then comes to next Monday, the second exam is there. So 5 Mondays, you finish off all these exams. Correction is done within the school itself. CBSE must have faith with all the teachers and the school system. A result will be declared maybe in 10 days after the last exam. I think that system can work very well.
Okay. Well, there's actually a provision for holding a second set of exams. That's also part of the government proposal, sir. After one schedule is completed, giving a second opportunity for those kids who may be affected by COVID or their family members may be affected by COVID. But let's get in a quick word from our students once again. Resham, you've heard some of these suggestions. As a student, do you feel confident to go to an examination center now? If all of these safeguards are taken, you go to your own school, your own teachers, your own classmates in that kind of secure environment, would you be comfortable taking the examination? And as somebody who, in fact, as you mentioned, wants to go abroad, do you want this examination process to be done so that your plans as far as the future are concerned are minimally affected?
Being told, we've already seen this in the case of the IPL, right? Where all the precautions were taken, but still all the cricketers were affected by COVID. So that simply means that the number of precautions that we are taking is something which definitely will not change the fate of this virus. We have, constantly been failing in this endeavor. So since childhood, we have always been taught that health always comes first and then comes education. So it is very, very important that at this time also, we are prioritizing health. Now coming to the, topic about foreign institutions and board marks, I like to know that most of the countries, in fact, do not have a board marks at all. So if at all we go for this scheme of, taking the average percentages of the students or looking at the marks that students have already secured in their online examination over the years, I'm sure that, the foreign universities will definitely have no issues with this. And personally speaking on behalf of most of my peers who are in the same boat as I am, we would definitely prefer this over, putting our families and our own lives at stake. Because most of us 12s are still not 18 and we have no access to the vaccine because we are still 17. So there is no way we can be, taking any precaution and making sure that we are safe. So it is like, it's asked for my personal opinion.
I think there's some very...
And that of my peers, I would say that it's for the best if the exam right now is not being conducted.
I think there's some very, very strong points that you make over there. Professor Simrat Kaur, what would your response be to students such as Resham? I think she is also making some very, very valid points that vaccinations they are not entitled to. They're, of course, not at the age of 18 yet. The vaccination program itself, we don't know how many months it could take perhaps to ensure that all students, if at all there is a proposal, are even vaccinated. And she has given a very valid example of something as IPL, which was so strictly controlled. People were being tested every day, and yet they caused COVID to spread.
Very right, sir. Basically, we know that even if the growth rate of the COVID-19 patients had slowed down, the curve might have flattened, but the level of the curve is still very high. So the numbers of any positive COVID patient is going to be high. And even if the exams are conducted in school, one has to be careful that students may be traveling in metros, they may be traveling in public transportation. The teachers may not have access to private cars and vehicles. So there is a possibility, a lot of spread of COVID. And in the houses of these young children are also the grandparents and the parents who may be susceptible. They may have been vaccinated, but nonetheless, we do know that even in vaccinated patients, COVID reoccurrence is happening, and even first time COVID is taking place. So I think at this point of time, avoiding a physical examination is something one can deliberate upon, especially if you're trying to cluster and have a declassification of all the regions district-wise. And it is therefore important, wherever it is a corona-free zone, have examinations which are there in the physical mode, but elsewhere there could be a rethinking of where the spread of the COVID is very high, because being cautious is important if we want to break the chain of coronavirus. And students, I think, are mature enough to understand that it is not always the soldiers who fight at the borders. Sometimes even the youngsters have to actually rise above in the war which the country is facing and fighting against corona. And I'm very sure that the students will remain positive in whatever approach the government is going to take tomorrow.
But that's it's easier said than done, though, because a lot of parents would have this concern about whether the exams are going to be conducted in a very, very safe atmosphere. Let me, in fact, get in a word from Khyati on that note. Khyati, you heard what Professor Simrit Kaur has said. Do you agree with what she has just appealed to students?
I would have to say that I partially disagree, because I think that even though we do understand the risk of it, but it goes beyond us, right? Because even if we have to pay to give the exams, we don't know what the consequences would be after we appear. Like we mentioned in a lot throughout this conversation, how would we impact our families? And also, I think one very important aspect is that, like Sir also mentioned, that mentally we are also exhausted, that in such an anxious state of mind, you can't give an exam. No matter if it's a 90 marks or if it's just 1 mark or whatever the pattern may be. But if you're going in such a state of anxiety where you don't know if you're going to come back safe from the exam or not, if you're going to infect someone else, or what your future holds after the exam, if the pattern is going to change suddenly with the rise of cases, it is not very practical to expect out of us, especially after the year that we've had, that we've been in 12th for so long and we have had no answer given to us throughout this year. It's always been that we're going to delay the answer yet. And we're also getting really tired of it. And it's really hard for us to even keep motivation. And even for our parents, they're starting to question, like, what is going to happen to our own future. So even in this situation, like, apart from health concerns, it's also really concerning for our future. And I don't think that it's a very, it's the right mindset for kids to give an exam in. So I think that I would disagree that we should be giving exams off time. And also I think that throughout this whole session, we've all been fighting and we've all risen above what is expected out of us as students, and we've been fighting such a weird situation that has not been applicable to anyone else. So I think that no, I would disagree that it is not our
all right, Dr. Hasija, would you like to respond to what Khyati has just said? Because I think you mentioned some of these points when you talked about emotionally how we respond to COVID-19, but I think there's some very, very real risks over here that the students do not want to take, or are clear, at least from the students who are with us on the panel, are raising some very, very valid questions in terms of their safety. Because ultimately, as one of them very clearly came out and said, ultimately health is more important than anything else, because even if one gets the degree, but something untoward happens because of COVID, then what use is that particular degree, and this, in this case, of course, the class 12 certification?
I fully agree, and if again I say, as a teacher and a father, I personally feel exams should not be there. But again, there is a but. More than 20 lakhs children are taking this 12th class exam. What is an alternative to this? Online exams are not possible because of digital divide. So many challenges are there. Online exams are not possible. Hello? Sorry. Online exams are not possible. And there is no way you segregate the gifted children, the average children, and the underachiever, because number is a huge issue in our country. Therefore, you have to come to that physical exam. That's the only option available to us. No policy, no theory can work out. There are a number of issues coming even in class 10th, when there is a bright child not able to take because of family tragedy and losing the mark. So there is no option except to conduct the exam. However, I again assure Khyati and other children, suppose exams are conducted region-wide, exams are conducted in the school itself, exams are conducted in such a phased manner that all protocols are taken. Teacher-wise, Professor Simon said all those teachers who have taken both the vaccine, they are only put on duty. The whole building of the school is available to these children. They can be worked out into number of shifts. I think once a week, using that schedule, probably we can work out a mechanism when these children are mentally free to pick up these exams.
So precisely, I mean, allow me to interject here. The concern is you
Right.
may be giving them the best of the
yeah.
standard operating procedures while the child is within the campus of the school. But what when it is going to be coming to the school and going back homes? How do you control the best of the environment at that
agree,
point in time?
I agree with you. I'm sorry, I'm responding state. I fully agree with you. That's why I said, as a teacher, if you ask me,
Yes.
I would 100% say exam
Yes.
should not be there. But now,
Yes.
how my son wants to come to SRCC, how would you take? If you are taking
Very
a test, it is only shifting exam
Sure.
from school to university. That's all about it. Rest doesn't change at all. We, unfortunately, we have not yet evolved internal assessment process where every
Right.
teacher throughout the year work out some system. I'm sure for next year, CBSE has already started working on these guidelines where school
Right.
assess it. But this year, it happens once in century. We have to come out with a solution. And I don't feel except exam conducted
Yes.
in a safe time, in a safe zone, in safe region, in the safe school.
Right.
That is the.
And also, one moment,
Right.
sir. I would just like to
but
again
Dr.
clarify.
Ansari, Dr. Ansari did. One second, ma'am. In fact, Dr. Ansari hasn't spoken yet after his initial response. Dr. Ansari, I want to bring you in on this debate because you are one of those who believes that it is not practical to risk the lives of children. There are those who are giving all of these safeguards under which circumstances under which the exams can be conducted. After listening to them, have you changed your position at all, sir?
I would suggest that the safest option is to not hold the examination, but within that parameter, there are certain options. One is that you have a mix of online and offline examination system, where you give the option to those who have the capacity to take the test, to take the examination through online. They can be allowed and they can be judged on the basis of their performance. And those, because many of them would be living in rural areas with no electricity or with no online facility, they can be judged on the basis of their past performance. This is not very difficult because online facility can be utilized by the urban people. Most of them, they have this facility, and towns also. But villages, they will have problems. So the students coming from village, they can be given the option to be assessed on the basis of their past performance. If the examination is for 12th examination, they can be
But sir,
assessed on
wouldn't
the
this
basis.
be discriminatory? Wouldn't this
It
be
is not
discriminatory
discriminatory.
against students depending on their
It is
economic
not
background?
discriminatory because you are leaving it to the option of the candidate, to the student himself. Let every student choose the mode. If he is going for online, let him take the test online. If he opts for offline, let him be assessed on the basis of his past performance. This choice should be left to the parents or to the students themselves. This is not discriminatory. If the students they want to go for
let's get a quick
offline,
word from our students. Resham, what if there is an option of an online examination? Do you think that is a fair option to give students, and at least the risk of infection is mitigated completely if there is such an online exam that takes place?
I think we can certainly go for an online examination, but speaking from the point of view of those students who are applying abroad, we need to do that very, very quickly because we start registering for classes in July. That means we have a very limited amount of time to decide how to go about doing this, how to implement it, and what will we do about those people who do not have access to that kind of technology and those kind of resources. And making the students and the faculty acclimatized to that kind of an environment is another question that we really need to answer. So I'm not sure how feasible that would be, but personally, coming from the place of privilege that I feel me and my classmates would have, we are certainly open to the option of an online examination as opposed to an offline examination for sure.
All right. And Kathy, do you share that view?
I will say that I do agree. Also, I do understand that it's going to benefit some people more than others, and it is going to be difficult for some students to attend online classes because of this technological gap. However, it is still more practical than holding offline exams. Because even if you're forcing them to go to offline exams, what if something happens to them? They don't have access to a system where they can get they can't get access to proper health care. Like these things rural areas are covered so much, and even it's just we have to choose between our academics and between our health. And if we choose our students' health, it says so much more about us. And I think that even though I do agree with Resham that we should be way more stricter than they are right now, I still think that it's a more practical option than holding exams offline, because that also does not seem like it is going to help anyone. It is only going to, exams are going to run super struggle. And we've already seen the situation.
All right, Professor Simrit Kaur. Professor Simrit Kaur, your views on these online examinations, are they feasible? Are they practical?
So we've already experimented this at the University of Delhi. Students were given an option of either taking it online as an open book examination from home, and simultaneously we also allowed the students whether they would like to come to the college and take the exam. So Google Forms were floated by the colleges and we asked what our students would like. And as soon as the students had this option and choice of doing what they preferred, all of a sudden they became so very comfortable and positive. And in fact, most of the students opted to take the exam in an online mode from their homes as an open book exam. So we've already experimented with it and it can be taken forward. Anybody who's not technologically connected because of either belonging to an economically weaker section or to an hinterland where internet connectivity is not there, the option must be given to come to the school and take the exam. And also when I say that we should be acting as a warrior and it should not always be the soldier, I think it's very important for me to clarify here that our national capital, our human capital, our students and the youth. So when I say a warrior, it is warrior from the mindsets and the psychological sets, not from the life sets of having a probability of picking up this ailment by going to the school. So mentally, the students have to rise at this particular occasion. And parents and teachers have a lot to do to make them psychologically stronger, because undoubtedly they're going through turbulent times. Emotionally, they're also disturbed. They are vulnerable. So we have to take an additional care for these students. And the government also must provide multiple choice options to address the concerns of the students. And yes, some of the students who are really top of the grade and are trying to get admissions in the international schools, it is a time for concern. It's a cause of concern because their admissions may get delayed.
Right. Well, I'm very glad you clarified on that warrior's point, Pam. A quick closing comment from Dr. Hasija before we wrap up the show. Dr. Hasija,
that is why I was interjecting earlier.
Online examination. Yes. I'm sorry I couldn't come to you earlier, but thanks now that you've clarified. Dr. Hasija, quick closing comments from you, sir, on the online exam being made optional. Will that help mitigate the problem, particularly in the urban areas where, in fact, there would probably be a larger number of students who could possibly take this exam, and are also the areas that are perhaps amongst the worst affected?
Online exam, I personally feel not possible. Number one, digital divide is there. Number two, the facilities are not available. Number three, the mindset has not yet been there. I know a particular case in a school we were discussing while formulating the class 10th the procedure for assessment, where a child who has been very sincere would score only 70%, a child who has never scored more than 35% is scoring 99. We have not trained. Then our examination system, conduct of the paper, is not such that children could take up even if they open the book. Like ma'am is saying, open book examination, we still go on the Bloom's taxonomy. There are questions of recall, questions of understanding, questions of calculations are there. Therefore, we are not yet training children for open book exam. So online, I personally feel not possible. Offline, first choice should not be there, but there is no alternative to CBSE, to the government, and these children's future should be safe. Therefore, exam must be conducted, and if it is conducted, I say region-wise, school-wise, day-wise, it should go on.
And also, I think
Thank
the
you so much
option
to
of
all of
having
you
it
for
twice.
joining us and sharing with us. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. Certainly. That is also as far as the proposals are concerned. Now, what action will the government take needs to be seen. But I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. Dr. Anis Ansari, Professor Simrit Kaur, Dr. Rajesh Hasija, Resham Palwar, and Khyati Ahuja. All eyes on tomorrow's meeting, which will be very, very crucial for all those involved in the education sector, and particularly, of course, for students, parents, teachers, and all concerned as well. Thanks so much for joining us.